We're on Martin Heidegger, his Metaphysics. He's a very intense philosopher, German philosopher. This is a text that was translated from German to English. Okay. If one understands spirit as intelligence, as Marxism in its most extreme form has done, then it is completely correct to say in response that the spirit, that is, intelligence, in its ordering of the affective energies of human Dasein, must always be subordinate to the healthy body, fitness, and to character. Okay. Right off the bat, he's saying that the spirit is, it's subordinate to the body, its overall health, and to its constitution. But this ordering becomes untrue as soon as one grasps the essence of spirit in its truth. Interesting. For all true energy and beauty of the body, all sureness and boldness of the sword, but also all genuineness and ingenuity of the understanding, are grounded in the spirit. Okay, interesting. So genuineness, ingenuity, and understanding are grounded in the spirit. Gotcha. And they rise or fall only according to the current power or powerlessness of the spirit. That's interesting. And they rise or fall according to the current power or powerlessness of the spirit. Spirit is what sustains and rules, the first and the last, not a merely indispensable third element. As soon as this instrumental misinterpretation of the spirit sets in, the powers of spiritual happening, poetry and fine arts, state creation and religion shift to a sphere where they can be consciously cultivated and planned. At the same time, they get divided up into regions. The world of spirit becomes culture, and in the creation and conservation of culture, the individual seeks to fulfill himself. These regions become fields of a free endeavor that sets its standards for itself, according to the meaning of standards, that is, we can still attain. These standards of validity for production and use are called values. Cultural values secure meaning for themselves in the whole of a culture only by restricting themselves to their self-validity. Poetry for poetry's sake, art for art's sake, science for science sake. That's true. I can contend with that. That definitely, the self-validity is, is very important to the survival of certain aspects of culture within a society. That's not too far-fetched. In respect to science, which concerns us especially here in the university, the situation of the last few decades, a situation which remains unchanged today, despite some cleansing, it's easy to see, although two seemingly different conceptions of science are now seemingly struggling against each other. I'd say pseudoscience and actual science. Science as a technical and practical professional knowledge, and science as a cultural value in itself. Nevertheless, both are moving along the same decadent path of misinterpretation and disempowering of the spirit. Dang. Wow, so he's seeing science as a disempowering of the spirit. Let's see what he says. They are distinct only in that the technical and practical conception of science as specialized science may still lay claim to the merit of an open and clear consistency within today's situation, whereas the reactionary interpretation of science as a cultural value, which is now again appearing, tries to hide the powerlessness of the spirit through an unconscious mendacity. The confusion of spiritlessness can even go so far that the practical, technical explanation of science confesses itself at the same time to be science as cultural value, so that both understand each other very well in the same dearth of spirit. Wow, okay, science as a cultural value and then as a practical professional knowledge that has a technical side, both contributing to the depletion and essence of the spirit. That's very sad. One may wish to call the arrangement of the amalgam of the specialized sciences for purposes of teaching and research a university. But this is now just a name, and no longer an originally unifying spiritual power that imposes duties. What I said here in my inaugural address in 1929 about the German university still applies today. The regions of science lie far asunder. Their ways of handling their subject matters are fundamentally different. The disintegrated multiplicity of disciplines is still meaningfully maintained. Interesting. Today, only through the technical organization of universities and faculties and through the practical aims of disciplines. Oh, I get it. Okay, yeah. So, is he saying here that science in and of itself is now so disintegrated, i.e., ununified in its efforts, that the only way it is unified today is not by the actual fields, but by the faculty, meaning the jobs it creates and how they contributed to it as a whole. All the little out branches contributing to it instead of the whole of science contributing down. That could be what he means. He'll probably make it more distinct as we go on. Yet, the rootedness of the sciences in their essential ground has atrophied. In all its areas, science today is technical, practical matter of gaining information and communicating it. No awakening of the spirit at all can proceed from it as science. Interesting. Okay, so science simply just communicates facts, the technical and practical side of facts. And that science is not designed to awaken a spirit. Interesting. Now, Carl Sagan and Neil deGrasse Tyson might argue differently. However, Sam Harris and Richard Dawkins would probably agree with this. And they probably like that about science, right? Science itself needs such an awakening. The last misinterpretation of the spirit rests on the formerly mentioned falsifications that represent the spirit as intelligence, this intelligence as a tool serviceable for goals. He would not. Oh, it's interesting. He says he would not agree with Albert Pike then about that. Together with what can be produced as the realm of culture, the spirit as intelligence in the universe of goals, as the spirit as culture finally becomes showpieces and spectacles that one takes into account along with many others, that one publicly trots out and exhibits a proof that one does not want to deny culture in favor of barbarism. Russian communism, after an initially purely negative attitude, went directly over to such propagandistic tactics. Against these multiple misinterpretations of the spirit, we determine the essence of the spirit briefly in this way. I choose the formulation from my rectal address because there everything is succinctly brought together in accordance with the occasion. Okay, so he's going to tell us a brief explanation of the essence of spirit. Spirit is neither empty acuity nor the non-committal play of wit. Non-committal play of wit. So spirit isn't the randomness and expression of wit, nor the understanding's boundless pursuit of analysis. Interesting. So he's saying that spirit, the essence of spirit, is not just analytics. Ooh, as someone who loves analytics, I'd be like, say what? Nor even world reason. But rather, spirit is originally attuned, knowing resolution to the essence of being. Resolution as in the focus, right? So attuned is, think of like a radio signal. So the spirit is sort of more in HD, like HD, but the resolution and the essence is attuned to being with the capital B, not witticisms and not analysis, but simply to being, essentially, is what he's saying. Spirit is the empowering of the powers of beings as such and as a whole. Where spirit rules, beings as such always in each case come more into being, asking about beings as such and as a whole. Asking the question of being is then one of the essential fundamental conditions for awakening the spirit. Okay, so if we're going to figure out what being is according to him, then one of the main things we got to figure out is the awakening of the spirit. And as he said previously, the awakening of the spirit is not going to happen through science. And thus, for an originary world of historical design, and thus for subduing the danger of the darkening of the world, and thus for taking over the historical mission of our people, the people of the center of the West, only in these broad strokes can we make plain here to what extent the asking of the question of being is in itself historical through and through. So he wants to stop the darkening of the world, and he realizes that the reason why this is happening is because people are misidentifying what the true Dasein is, what being is, what spirit is, and they're mistaking science and witticisms and analytics for being, but he's contending that that is not, and that will not lead to an awakening. And that accordingly our question whether being is to remain a mere vapor for us or whether it is to become the fate of the West is anything but an exaggeration and figure of speech. Very interesting. He's really digging in here, isn't he? He's really slamming science and Russian communism. Oh, it's crazy. All right.